Okay, so this is a bit more like an arts and crafts project than it is an engineering project, but it's got a little bit of both, so I figured I'd give it a shot and see if you guys thought it was cool. Because what I have to do here is take this plastic lens and I need to coat it with a Japanese paper. And the Japanese paper is expensive and it has a very particular sheen to it. And I have to make it fit perfectly around this, almost to make this plastic piece look like it's made of the paper. So I'm going to show you how that gets done. The first things first, you peel off the protective layer and you wipe it down with a one of those lint-free cloths. Now here's your paper. And as you can see, it's kind of delicate. It's made out of like rice and flax, and it's handmade. So these are suction cups I use to hold the lens so I don't get any finger marks on the lens and I can manipulate it without worrying about touching it. Okay, so I've got two lenses and I've got two pieces of paper. So this is a specialized glue that comes from the paper manufacturer, or is compatible and approved by the paper manufacturer. This is just a little trim roller. And so the objective here is to get a nice even coat of the adhesive with glue onto the lens. And then the trick is to get all this stuff to happen without making any heavy measurements or templates. So I came up with this little trick. So what I'm going to do here is position this so that it's got plenty of room all the way around it and it is aligned with the watermarks in the paper. There we go. I'll take my handy Bondo squeegees and take out any of the air that gets trapped underneath the paper. And you want to be real light because the paper will raise if you're not careful. So that's the first one. Now let's get the next one. Now, the nice thing about this paper is it turns this kind of plain Jane plastic into a very warm, interesting diffuser. So when the light comes through it, it looks pretty nice. It's not like it's just bleeding through a white plastic. It's got some texture to it. Even the light has some texture to it. And these lenses go inside a cast bronze fitting that we made. It's kind of interesting also. I'll show you those later. So once again, aligning with the watermarks, plenty of room all the way around. Do a little press, get up underneath it, get all the bubbles out from under it. All right. So here's kind of the cool part. Is that rather than do a bunch of measurements and templates, I'm letting the lens itself define where the cuts are so that it comes out perfect. And so all I need is an X-Acto knife and this blade of plastic that I use to align with the edges of the existing lens. And then it's just a question of cutting on the right lines. So here, I'm cutting exactly in line with the end of the piece. And here, I'm cutting one material thickness wider than the lens. So it's going to overlap on that cut. Then, I'm going to take this piece and shorten it because I don't want the paper to fight me when I make the crease. Again, I'm aligning it with the edge of the plastic, and I'm cutting directly to that line with an X-Acto knife. And then I'm taking this one and I'm cutting it one plastic thickness wider than the exact line of the plastic. And then again, I'm shaving it down so it doesn't fight me when I bend it. And then just to keep everything easy and even, I'll do the same thing on the long sides. So, like I said before, this is a lot more like arts and crafts than it is engineering, but there is some engineering involved in getting this to happen, right? And in making the plastic tool that keeps everything lined up. So when you're all done, you end up with a piece that looks like this. And you'll see that this is wider than the plastic by one plastic thickness. I'll show you why that's important in a minute. Let's get to this one, because I do these two at a time, just to save time. So again, this one is cut exactly in line with the edge of the plastic. And this one is cut one material thickness away from the edge of the plastic because it's going to fold over. And you'll see that in a minute. These come out. And again, shaving it down so that it doesn't fight me. Now we get the other end. And here we are. Taking it at the exact edge of the plastic. And one thickness away from the plastic. And this way, I really don't have to make any measurements per se, and I really don't have to fiddle with it too much because the part itself tells me where to make these cuts. I make everything in reference to the plastic that's already laid down on the paper. And that way, everything is already indexed in a line, as opposed to having to do that manually, or even worse, trying to cut out a template that doesn't fit because of the part variations, which aren't very much, but they'd be enough to give you a hard time in all the corners and edges. This way, all the corners and edges automatically line up to each other. They can't go anywhere else. There we have it. Another piece just like the first piece. So it's already bonded on this surface. So I need to bond the ends with the folds first. And we'll get to that right now. So we're back to the little roller. With this fancy adhesive. Put the fancy adhesive on it. Get it right on the edge. We got to get a little bit here and a little bit here. And we flip it over. And that's why these suction cuts are handy. They make it go that much easier. I don't have to worry about touching the plastic anymore. I'm getting my fingerprints, everything else on it. Okay, so we got this surface, and these edges have adhesive on them. And I take my smaller squeegee, and I just roll this down, and I pull it, just like I did with the front. I'm going to give a little crease where the edges are. And again, fold it, get the bubbles out, and give a little crease where the edges are. Now this is where the fun begins, because you have to fold these over without touching the glue, and then pinch them a little bit, which is why I cut them down. And you just give a little nudge. The same thing on the other side. should get in tight. See, there's a little missed cut. There we go. Beautiful. So now it's nice and flat. Okay, so now in order to get the other sides down and aligned, I can use more of the same adhesive. This time I got to go over a little bit of the paper. So I have to make sure it's nice and even in the middle of the body, and then roll down so I don't lift the paper that I just put down. Got to roll it in the direction that it's folded. Like that. More of the same. Pull down, pull down, pull down. And the same here. You're going with the fold, so you don't lift the fold. I'm going to get that paper pretty well coated. All right. Then, back to the squeegee, and use the soft edge of the squeegee, which usually has the name on it. And you just roll that down the middle, and then you kind of come across the edge where the fold is. And as you can see, that corner is nice and tight. It's not overlapping at all. It's like perfect to the edge. And that's what the neat part about that measuring tool is. Get a little more of the here. And we're back to the same blade. You fold it down in the middle, and then you kind of pull it away from the edge and the middle at the same time. And that's how it comes out nice and smooth. And you tap the corners because they're a little rounded, as they should be. And that's the finished piece. Well, almost finished. I'm going to show you again. Same thing again. We're going to get the ends first. Nice and smooth. A little bit of a wrap around the corner here to hold that corner in place. Flip it. Around the corner. Hold that corner in place. There we go. Back to the squeegee. Just roll it, pull it. Always pull it away from the corner that you're trying to bend around. And very gentle. Just throw those creases in there. Same thing here. Roll it, pull it. Get the bubbles out from underneath it. Put that little crease in. And then fold those creases down so that they hold when you go to put the last piece folded in. All right, there we go. So, same deal. You want to get a nice even coating of the adhesive. And you want to pull it down over the folded part. So that you're going in the direction of the fold. Now, I was originally told when I bought this paper, and they told me, oh, you might have to vacuum form it in order to keep it tight against the plastic. I said, no, that doesn't sound right. Got to be a way to do this without making a big deal of it. So really what it came down to was making sure that the measurements were accurate and indexed to the existing plastic so that there was no place else for the corner to go. It had to go where I wanted it. There we go. So now we're just pulling from the middle, from the edge, towards the opening. And once again, that edge comes out perfect every time, like minute wraps. If you're old enough to remember what minute wraps is. And there you go. There's that nice, neat corner seam with no overlap at all. Doesn't hang out, doesn't need to be trimmed, nothing. Again, pull from the middle, and then you start to go down and away from the bend until you get all the air out from under it. There you go, another perfect corner. All right. So, now that you got the corners all set up and perfect, and you've let it dry just a little bit so it's not going to move, now comes the part of trimming it so that it's absolutely ideal. And what I have to do is pull the paper back a little bit from the edge, and then just taking a regular straight razor, pull it around the edge. When you get to the edges, you slow down and you kind of saw cut the edge a little bit. And you flip it. You do the same thing from this edge. And you keep that blade nice and tight to the plastic. You get to the edges and you saw in a little bit. And then you start at the saw mark. And you come across. And it releases. You come to this side. You saw across. Until it releases. And then you take a dry roller that has no adhesive on it, this is a fresh one, and you just roll it over all the corners. And there you have it. It's completely coated in Japanese paper, and my fingers have not touched anything except the part that rolled over, where you can't see it. And there it is.